Hi, my name is Stephen Schwartz, and I'm the Vice President of Insurance Strategy at Safe Security. Today, we're going to walk through the onboarding journey and assessment process for Safe Inside's public cloud cyber insurance assessment. As you can see in the dashboard here, there's been nothing uploaded to date, and we have not integrated with any cloud service providers. However, I'll be walking you through the entire journey from start to finish, integrating with both Microsoft Azure as well as Google Cloud Platform, and viewing the outcome and ultimate safe analysis from doing same. So where do we start? First, we have to start with setting the business context for the company. In this case, let's set forth the company profile. So Safe Security Demo, we're going to put their domain in, and we put their domain in because in the background, we're running an outside-in assessment on this company's domain, as well as for any third parties, which we will get into. Now, let's make this a mid-market enterprise with 500 million in revenue, an employee count of 500, and answer a few basic questions, again, to help us understand the context of the business and what's ultimately going to drive a lot of the financial analysis and cyber risk context that we need to appropriately assess this organization. So we have 20,000 PFI records, as well as 20,000 PII records. I'd say we have 10,000 PCI records. We do not have any protected health information. We have not experienced a ransomware attack in the last 3 years. This is a scenario-based question. We're going to say and assume that employee PXI has not been stolen in the event of a ransomware attack. Has the company experienced a data breach in the past 5 years? No. And what's the maximum wire transfer protocol limit? So let's make this 50,000. And now we're going to submit and save this company profile. So yep, let's click yes to continue. Okay, now that we've set forth the business context, why don't I start with onboarding the cloud assets from Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud Platform so that we can run and assess these cloud instances while we answer the questions that we need for the cyber insurance process. So first, I'm going to start with Azure. So for Microsoft Azure, all we have to do is download a simple PowerShell script, which will provide us the following information directly from your Azure instance: the tenant ID, the client ID, the client secret, and we are all set. Now, the auto sync frequency is basically how often do we want to assess this particular environment. So I'm going to hit get subscriptions, and as you can see, we haven't had any uploaded yet to date. So now I see, okay, we have 3 unconfirmed subscriptions. So I'm going to click, and these are our 3 Amazon accounts. So I'm going to, Azure accounts. So I'm going to click these and now hit confirm. And this is going to bring them into the confirmed subscriptions. I'm going to just refresh this so it starts syncing. And now the assessment's going to begin. And let's take note of the time. It's 11:49. Now I'm going to go back to SafeHooks. And let's also do Google Cloud Platform. With respects to Google Cloud Platform, all of the following information is obtained directly from the Security Console within Google Cloud Platform. So type, it's an external account. And as you can see, we're providing the context here. But as soon as you go to add an external account within the Security Console of GCP, it will be fairly self-explanatory, and this information will be populated for you. Region URL. Subject token type, audience, organization IDs, environment ID, service account impersonation, the URL, verification URL, and auto sync frequency 1 day. Let's just test the connection to make sure everything's good. Test connection is a success. So now we're going to save this, and we're going to hit sync now so it begins the assessment on Google Cloud Platform as well. So we could see that the sync was successful at 11:52 a.m. And now while we're actually doing the assessment in the background, let's go into the policy section so we can answer a few questions as it relates to the overall cyber risk and security policies of this organization. Now, as it relates for insurance, we require only about 15 questions, which I've highlighted up top here. But what I'm going to do is go through and identify and change some of the answers so that we can really see, do they show up in the in our analysis? Are they identified as high impact gaps and deficiencies that this company should remediate? So let's start here. Privileged access rights, business continuity plan. Let's just say business continuity plan is defined and documented, but not implemented. Okay. Does the organization perform timely vulnerability and software patching? Yes. Yes. We undergo information security and awareness training. We have a secondary confirmation for finance-related requests. Our passwords are not the default passwords that came, per the standard configurations with our different technologies and solutions. Let's see here. We want to get down to, I want to highlight multi-factor authentication here. And let's just say that multi-factor authentication is not enabled in this particular instance. And as well, what about how often do we identify vulnerability and configuration flaws on business critical assets? I'm going to say this is done on a yearly basis. Right. And now if we were going through this and answering all of this from scratch, of course, we would just choose the appropriate answer as that assessed organization would answer, being themselves. So now that we've updated and answered this, what I want to do is just add a third party in as well so that we could see that experience and then see where we're at with the cloud assessment on both Microsoft Azure and GCP. And look at the actual results and the safe analysis. So in order to upload a third party, you can either upload, a bulk upload with a bunch of third parties in a CSV file, or we could simply just add here. We're going to do globalcyberconsultants.com, select industry, finance and insurance, location, United States of America. Okay, add. Now this is going to begin running instantaneously. And while this is running, what I will do is show you the sample outside in analysis that we've run on the organization that we set up here, right? The Safe Security Demo organization. And we could see from the periphery, right, that there are some gaps, namely within system security. And these are the domains that we are checking against. There's more than 1,000 tests here that we are testing on a daily basis, right? And we could see that we have 4, high critical, potentially exploitable systems. What does this actually mean, right? Give us a little more context. Well, we've observed that there's IP addresses that are exposing vulnerable services, which are associated with high critical vulnerabilities, as reported by the National Vulnerability Database. Right. Well, where are those gaps? How do I fix those? And we provide that detail, directly down for our end customers and users so that they can go fix these issues and also see what that impact, to their safe score, their risk quantification of same and overall cyber risk posture is impacted as a result. So now that we had a quick glance at the outside in assessment on the demo organization that we've set up, let's go back to the main dashboard and see where we stand with our overall analysis, and onboarding of the cloud assets. Well, we could see here that we have a lot more context now that the financial risk is estimated at 3.56 million. But let's unpack this a bit deeper, right? So we see this 3.56 million here, but let's look at these different risk scenarios where we have the overall organization looking at, right, factoring all, types of attacks and breaches, and then different threats specific to ransomware, business email compromise, and data compromise. And we can see, right, you see the $3.56 million here. And how we ultimately got there, I'm going to click in a bit deeper here into enterprise, and we can see, okay, well, we actually have, an expected financial impact of $5 million, right, with an upper bound of 16 and a million and a lower bound of 338,000, where you can see, right, all the underlying cost factors that actually make this up, providing that transparency, as well as actionable insights on a prioritized basis, right? If you recall from the policy questions that we answered, I said that we did not have a business continuity plan, that we had a business continuity plan developed, but it hasn't been, implemented or tested. And we see that this is a high priority recommendation in that this is going to have the biggest impact in reducing our financial risk, right? Likewise with multi-factor authentication, right? Where we saw that, where we said from a policy perspective, that we do not have multi-factor authentication enabled in the organization. But now let's look at some technology insights that we've obtained from the actual cloud assets. But before I dive deeper into that, I'm going to actually take us back a step and look to see where we are with onboarding those cloud assets. Now, I do just want to call out, there is a distinction here between the overall estimated financial impact and the financial risk number that you see here. The financial risk of the 3.56 million that you see here takes into account, right, all of your cyber risk posture that SAFE has assessed via the questions and the cloud security assessment that we've performed, right? So the 5 million is, that expected financial impact without us having that understanding, where the 3.56 million adds that degree of precision and is equivalent to an expected annual loss in this case. Similarly, if I wanted to look at ransomware and see that our expected, right, is 4.96 million, but based on the controls that we have in place as SAFE has assessed and determined, our likely, expected annual loss here is actually more akin to $997,000. And again, you can see what's actually driving those costs. But let's go back to the dashboard and see, where do we stand with onboarding our cloud assets? So we could see, oh, look at that. Both GCP and Azure have been fully onboarded and assessed. We could see there's 319 assets within GCP, likewise within Azure. All right, and let's just take a quick look at these. We'll take a quick look at GCP, and we could see, okay, high, actionable insights in priority order. Likewise, let's just do same very quickly with Microsoft Azure. And then I'm going to go back to the dashboard for the higher level, the higher level recommendations and insights, bringing this all together. So I just wanted to highlight there, though, that we could see in a matter of, sub 10 minutes that we've been able to connect, ingest, and assess the cloud security posture and telemetry from this organization's cloud environments, being Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud Platform in this instance. But now let's look at the actionable insights, right, where the rubber meets the road. What do I need? What can I do as the end organization or as an underwriter evaluating this risk in informing, that end organization to reduce, the financial impact of, from a breach or from an attack, and ultimately prioritize, right, where to prioritize and optimize our security spend. So we already touched upon the business continuity plan, right, which we indicated we did not have tested and implemented and tested. But let's take a look here. We see install endpoint protection solution on virtual machines and 2 impacted entities, right? But doing this is gonna reduce our financial risk by up to $1.4 million. So what does this mean? So, okay, we have 2 assets that do not have endpoint protection on them, and they're within our Microsoft Azure instances, right? And we're providing that insight and capability to actually uncover what that is, where this is, and the steps to remediate, right? So what I've done here now is click into this specific asset so that we can see what controls across this are failing, right? And specifically install endpoint protection solution, right? With a very high critical, 8.8 severity. So again, coming back to how do we prioritize those recommendations? I'm also just going to take one last quick view here to show you another lens at which to view these, and we could certainly dive deeper into all of all these recommendations. The only other one I would highlight here is that in addition to the policy saying that we did not have MFA implemented across the organization, we're also validating this when we assess the cloud security environments, right? We see here that MFA, as you know, which should be enabled on accounts with owner permissions on subscriptions, has a few gaps. So we see three assets where this gap is present, right? And again, we're providing the direction for that security ops, the IT team, to actually just go into their Azure instance and account and resolve this issue, right? And again, down to the specific asset and where those issues are. But as we wrap this up, I just want to show another lens at which which to evaluate this risk and consume what we're presenting, and that's through the MITRE ATT&CK view. What the MITRE ATT&CK kill chain is, as we see here, is this is how somebody actually executes, in this case, a ransomware attack, right? How they, the initial reconnaissance, how they then initially get access, right? How they move laterally across the organization, and all the different, tactics, techniques, and procedures at which they're using in order to execute this attack. Now, what we're going to look at is where are we failing, right? Where do we not have controls in place to mitigate against these specific techniques, tactics, and procedures across this kill chain? Right. And we see here, that there's quite a few. So let's see, external remote services, right? So what is that technique, right? Adversaries may leverage external remote services to initially access or persist within a network, such as a VPN, Citrix, so on and so forth. And where do we see that this is failing, right? So here we have 5 assets, right, with a high critical, where we do not have adaptive network hardening recommendations, which is ultimately, resolving this and reducing your attack surface on, in a dynamic manner, right? And again, where are those assets? What are those assets? How do we remediate that issue? So all of which, is again coming back here to our safe dashboard to show that it's a very quick, easy process to get a comprehensive understanding of an organization's cybersecurity posture, certainly their cloud security posture across several cloud environments, being Google, Microsoft Azure, as well as Amazon Web Services. The different risk scenarios and how we can digest and make sense of this, right? What is our exposure, and and how much is a cyber attack going to cost us? Thus, how much cyber insurance do we need, right, to transfer that risk and just have a lot more trust and certainty for both the end user, the brokers, as well as the cyber insurance underwriting community. Thank you for taking the time today, and I look forward to diving deeper into SAFE and sharing this further with you.